Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached Tourist Central, the Rokoya Platz of Tartu, the main town square. Of course, no surprise, Tartu's information centre is right here. Only surprise actually is it's open. Shouldn't say that, should I? I've been noticing a lot of establishments with posted times for opening on them, and they're not actually open. Now, it could be that some of the businesses have just failed and are no longer in operation. But however it is, it's nice to see tourist information open. Just a shame I don't actually need them, because I've managed to pick up all my materials and do my background reading to find out what I wanted to see and do here in advance. Handy like that when you stay in hostels. Pick up all sorts of bits and pieces. And, oh, I'm going to have to step back a bit to get a good view of that. What we've got here is, yep, cover your children's eyes, because it's the kissing student statue. I don't know why, but I'm the sort of guy who looks down at manhole covers, which are rather ornate like this one, and finds that perhaps slightly more artistically pleasing. But I'm not trying to say there's nothing wrong with this, you know. I'm not trying to say, oh, it's a lousy statue. Far from it. It's an absolutely fine statue. I'm just a little more engaged with some of the other things going on in the city square. Fountain's not working at the moment. That's a shame. Somebody's had a tough night over there, skipping on a bench. Or maybe they've just come off a hard night shift and just collapsed from exhaustion of work on the way home. Who knows? It's a small little Rokoya Platz, isn't it? The thing is, as you may already know, you may have read, you may have heard, or you may have guessed, this place took an absolute hammering. Unfortunately, obviously wars raged in the Baltics between various countries, various empires trying to dominate. And as a result of, well, I think the worst example is that Peter the Great again. I never realised he was such a madman. But having captured the city, I think in 1704, but don't quote me on that, he took the city from the Swedes. Then 4 years later, he decided he couldn't hold it from the Swedes, a resurgent Swedish army, and so he decided to destroy it. So, yeah, previously there had been bad fires, of course, like many medieval towns in Europe, and there was bad fires after Peter the Great had decided to destroy the city. Much the way he decided to dismantle, or blow up, I should say, Haapsalu Castle, if you remember when we were in Haapsalu. Luckily, he didn't manage to tear down all the walls. But here, history, then of course, Second World War came along as well and did a whole load of damage. So what we're left with is very little of historic Tartu. But again, it depends what era of history we're talking about. You know, if you're interested in 19th century or 18th century architecture and historical sites, then it's not too bad just in this little spot. But when you realize that so much has been destroyed, actually the buildings here were built on reclaimed land. The Recoya-Platz goes right the way down to the river here, and another little bridge. And yeah, the method they used to reclaim the land was based on felling trees, and many trees were felled because obviously the land right next to the river was extremely wet and marshy, and as a result the foundations for some of these buildings weren't as good as they might have been. You know where this is leading up to, don't you? The famous leaning building of Tartu. Surprised actually that it's amazing when you think, okay, there are decaying wooden tree trunks underneath forming the foundations for this building. How the hell has this building stood up at all? How have any of them stood up, come to that matter? Or maybe some have fallen and been rebuilt and foundations strengthened at some point. But anyway, I wonder what the best angle is to get the leaning tower into our little video. Oh, I think this says it a bit more, doesn't it? To the naked eye, anyway. But maybe not so much with the camera. I'm not sure. You just have to take my word for it. It's leaning. No, it's not falling. I thought I'd just hover, just in case we capture the moment for posterity that it actually falls. But it's not happening, not this time. Thank goodness. Now we could go to a variety of places from here. There are the botanical gardens. As an extended river walk we could take. I wonder what we should do. I'm thinking let's head down following the river this way in the direction of the botanical gardens. Doing rather well for time actually. And there's a rather nice bridge coming up, I think. Tartu does well for bridges, and I think the best one we'll be saving for last. Oh, that's bad timing.